You know, life has a way of surprising us. We've all had unexpected moments that really end up impacting who we are. I'm Chavie Brooke, and let me tell you, I've had my fair share of these moments. On Totally Unexpected, I don't just interview my guests. We have long, meaningful conversations to explore the twists and the turns that change their lives. You won't only be hearing from the guest, you'll be hearing from me and my thoughts and reflections, just as I would be doing in real life. These aren't traditional interviews, they're conversations about struggle, growth, and the moments that make us human. We all just want to feel connected, at least I do. And if we end up feeling a little less alone, that would make me so happy. Welcome back to Totally Unexpected. Today is a big day in the Brooke household. Zeesy, my daughter Zeesy, is graduating 8th grade. So that's happening in a couple hours. And any of you who know a little bit about Zeesy, she's the best. And you can read about her more on my Substack. I tell more of her story and what she contends with in life. She has a very rare genetic disorder. So the fact that she is thriving and doing well and graduating 8th grade is really exciting. So I'll keep you posted and share a little bit from her graduation, I'm sure. So that's happening today. It's June 10th, I believe, and it is cold and raining outside, and I hate that. But other than that, summer is upon us. Kids' last day of school is tomorrow, half day. Ready or not, here we come. Not ready, but here we come. Summer is always a really tricky time for me. I struggle with balancing like the no structure schedule and the personalities of my kids and what we have available to do and the camp schedules. And it's not so easy for me. It's really cute. Hanalea came home from school yesterday and she was like off, like really acting out a little bit. And finally I was like, I kept trying to ask her and I'm like, Hanalea, like, tell me, like what, it's very obvious that like you are feeling unsettled and what's going on. Like maybe like I could help you. Maybe we could talk about it. She finally said to me, she's like, I'm not happy that school's over and I'm not happy that school's finishing and I'm the only one. Everybody else is happy about it. And I couldn't relate to her more, but it was so in tune. Like she was so in tune that like she loves the school and she feels very unsettled when there's no school. And she also recognizes that like, this is weird. Like, why is all her friends so happy that there's no school and she's not? So I just thought that was really sweet. And I was really happy that she was able to express that. She doesn't like to talk about her feelings. So I felt like that was a huge win. Anyway, wow, I had a lot to say before I even introduced the guest for today. But before I even do that, of course, you know, I have to tell you what's going on. I just got to do it. So I got to remind you that there's a podcast that comes out every other Monday. You can listen wherever you listen to podcasts. We are even on YouTube. We are actually putting out these longer clips. Like you can't watch the full episode on YouTube, but you can watch like 9 to 10 minute clips on YouTube, which is kind of fun if you want to like hear a specific topic. Like this last interview that I did with Paula, which was incredible. If you haven't listened to it, you really, really should. But we put a clip on YouTube about all the different constitutions, i.e. doshas, that Ayurveda talks about. And so that whole clip, you can get like a full conversation. So that's on YouTube. And Substack comes out every Tuesday. This past Substack that I just wrote was all about my fitness journey and like how I've approached my fitness throughout the years. And that will also come full circle at the end of the podcast where I will share the voice notes that you sent in that was all about fitness. The prompt was, what's your fitness journey? How do you engage with fitness? And I'm excited to share those at the end of the podcast. So let me think. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Without further ado, I am excited to share this week's guest. He is none other than Rabbi Yisroel Bernath. He's the senior rabbi at Roar Chabad NDG in Montreal. He has a growing global audience where he shares a lot of conversations, open heart reflections, relationships, healing. He's known as the love rabbi. He was very involved in matchmaking for a long time. He's known for his honest and relatable style. He is the author of The Forgiveness Experiment, a #1 Amazon bestseller. And that book really explores what life could look like if we truly let go. And Rabbi Bernath really invites the deeper conversation. And I have to say that my conversation with him really, really reflects that. Actually took me even by surprise how meaningful this conversation really was. And I really am looking forward for you guys to hear it. It is such a open, honest, meaningful conversation. And I really, really think you're going to enjoy it. So take a listen. See you on the other side. If you want to sponsor, please reach out. I think it's not a secret that podcasts are funded through sponsorships and advertisements. There's no secret way to go about it. And I would love to partner with all of you and any of you. Please reach out. All my contact information is in the show notes. And we're very grateful to all our partnerships and all our sponsorships. I love it. How are you? I'm so happy you're here.
So happy to be here.
Thank you for sending me your book. I got it and I read the whole thing and I really enjoyed it and I have so many things that I want to dig into. But first, in a totally unexpected fashion, we want to know about you, not your book. We want to know about you first. So I would love to hear a little bit about your childhood. I know you grew up in Chicago. We have a Chicago connection. I went to school in Chicago for 5 years and my daughter Chaya is there now. So tell me a little bit about little Yisroel.
Sure. Where do I start?
From the beginning.
From the
all the way back.
I was born and raised in Des Plaines, Illinois.
Okay.
Which is a western suburb of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my parents were raised there as well.
Oh, really? Huh, that's unique.
And my grandmother actually passed away about 3 weeks ago at the age of 95, and she lived there till her final days.
Wow.
And she lived there for 64 years. So a very strong connection to that area, western suburbs of Chicago.
Wow. Do you feel connected to Des Plaines?
You know, in a way, yes. In a way, no. I just was back there for the first time as an adult because I promised her that I'd stay for the Shiva. And it was amazing, like all the different memories. I actually, I grew up, your producer Ellie was born a block from me. Like his parents were living in Des Plaines. And so I remember his bris. And I sent him a picture because I'd gone past the old houses. So I sent him a picture of the house that he grew up in. Like, well, I don't know if he grew up there, but he was born there.
Wow, I had no idea. Okay, good information.
So it just all this stuff came back. The Chabad house I grew up in, I was there. It was amazing for me to be back there I hadn't been there probably in about over 20 years, and a lot of the same people were there.
Do your parents still live there?
No, my parents moved to Rogers Park.
Okay, so that's
when
why I was like,
li-
why wouldn't you have, because they moved it out of Des Plaines, so that's why you haven't been back.
Right.
Wow. Were you young when they moved to Chicago?
I was right after bar mitzvah.
Okay. And how was that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not sure where you want to go with this conversation, but I guess I'll tell you the truth. I haven't listened to your other conversation, so I don't know, but I'm open
Okay. Yeah.
for everything.
You're good. Well, there's no particular direction, but I like to know about you, about the things that stuck out for you in your childhood that you really remember and that really shaped you, or just experiences along the way of in life. Because obviously there's so many things. We are like, people see us who we are right now, and we are a accumulation of so many different parts and different experiences and events and circumstances that created who we were today. So I always like to get a little bit behind what we see right now and understand why you are the way that you are. And like the title of the podcast, to be really explicit, is the unexpected things that happen in your life that you didn't expect that bring us to the current moment and what you are doing today and who you are and why, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I just totally unexpected.
Well, good. I don't mind a little unexpected action on the podcast itself. Why not? It's good.
Yeah, I'm happy. So I grew up religious in the Chabad world, but I would say very much an insider-outsider.
Okay.
So my parents, like my mother grew up very traditional, my father a little less traditional, grew up not far from each other, decided that they wanted to become frum, never really went through that, typical kind of Baal Tshuva process because they were somewhat connected, somewhat not connected. And there was this wonderful conservative rabbi a conservative temple in Des Plaines, and they got very involved there. And he was from this kind of ilk of, he himself was Shomer Shabbos, but the shul itself was a little more modern, but very much kind of, there was that world of the 70s and 80s. And I would say Des Plaines was very much that world. So a lot of people around were these very modern Orthodox people in my life. He made Aliyah, and shortly afterwards, Rabbi Binyamin and Hindi Shaiman moved to Des Plaines. And this was the first Chabad house, like the first outpost in Chicago.
Wow. So Henny Shaiman I was in school with her. She was in my class.
Right. So I grew up with her.
Yeah. That's incredible.
I lived in and out of their house. Like obviously they were the local. So when they came to town, my parents immediately got involved. It was like this. Before that, actually, we had a Shabbos apartment in Rogers Park. So we would live in Des Plaines during the week, and then we would pack all our bags and we'd go to the city for Shabbos. To be there. And then when the Shaimans moved out, my parents saw this as a natural kind of evolution of their process and decided to stay there for a while to help them kind of start the Chabad house and build the Chabad house. I grew up around a lot of my extended family. Both of my grandfathers were not in the picture by the time I was born, but both of my grandmothers lived walking distance.
That's amazing. Were they very part of your life?
Very much part of my life. I always say that I was raised by 3 very strong females. Yeah.
Oh, wow. But did your parents go on this journey together, or were they on it separately and then met, then evolved?
My parents met in their early teens. So they really went on this journey together. They were close friends for many years and got married. And that process was very much one that they did together, and still, I would say still one that they do together.
Were they always on the same page? Like, did they always align with the trajectory of their life?
It's an interesting question. Yes and no and yes.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get the sandwich.
So early on, they sent me, they never went to yeshiva, either of them. And they
Right.
sent me to Chabad, to Cheder Lubavitch, to this Chabad school. And I would come home from school and my parents would say, what did you learn today?
Mm.
And early on, they started calling me their rabbi. And I, being the oldest, at the time I had 2 younger siblings. I have, thank God, many more younger siblings since then. And
Are you the
they
oldest in
would,
the family?
I'm the oldest, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they looked at me a lot to teach them. And so I would say in those years, as far as their observance, they were doing a lot. They were learning a lot. They were growing a lot. But a lot of it was like, I would come home from school and say, why aren't we doing this? And I was just a kid and I was just learning it in school. And then all of a sudden, this was incorporated.
Right.
And so a lot of that in those years was kind of set between there was other elements, obviously. I mean, I don't take credit for it, but I was this kind of innocent child and my parents looked at me and said, what can you teach us? Like a lot of my teachers from Cheder remember that I would not leave school on Friday without a Dvar Torah. I had to have not just a Dvar Torah, a good Dvar Torah.
So you took your role very seriously.
I took my role very seriously.
Yeah. You hear that a lot when you live out on shlichus, or, these kids who are being exposed are going to summer camps or going to Hebrew school or even going to Jewish day school and their parents aren't practicing as much. Like the kids are the ones that are like schlepping them along or teaching because they're the ones that are being exposed. And it's a really beautiful thing. And for parents to be open to learning from their children, not being like, you're a child. I don't have to, I'm not listening to you or I know better. It's just a very beautiful kind of dynamic.
I think of that futuristic line, "V'leheshiv liv avos albanim," like that Mashiach time when the children are teaching the parents, and how you have to be humble enough. As a parent, it's very hard to have
Tell
that
me
level
about
of
it.
humility.
I don't know. I guess for me, I'm like, if I ever thought that one day my ego might be too big, I'm like, my kids will always make sure that I am humbled because they humble me every single day. Sometimes for the good, and sometimes I'd rather I not be humbled that way. But it is true. It's a very effective way to keep you in line and not get too big, ahead of yourself and big for yourself. Your kids can bring you right back down to reality.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What kind of kid were you? Were you outgoing? Were you studious? Were you quieter?
I had a stutter, a terrible stutter.
Wow, that's hard.
And so it caused me to be a little quieter, though I was a very outgoing kid.
So something like on the outside kind of made you kind of go into yourself.
Exactly. So I was the kid that was always standing at the door at the Chabad house, helping people have, making sure that they had a sitter, or they had a chumash. When they walked in, let's say for davening, I knew all of the Jews that lived in our area. My parents were very involved in the Chabad house. So one of the things that we did growing up is we did this large Mishloach Manot campaign where my mother does things all in. So we would have our entire basement lined with hundreds of little baskets. And I had a route. And for about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks before Purim, I would go house to house and hand deliver each of those baskets to many of the secular, or, less affiliated Jews that were living in the area, which the area was at the time was filled. I mean, just our block alone was probably half Jewish.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened to your stutter? Like, how did that resolve? And how old were you?
It got a little better as time went on. I had gone for some
speech therapy. Yeah.
Some speech therapy. It didn't really work well. I started copying singers. I would get videos of Jewish singers, which was not popular at the time. My father would often record. He liked recording things, and he would record a lot of the concerts when people would come to Chicago. And so I would watch those VHS recordings and then copy their words.
It's interesting because people who stutter, oftentimes when they sing, there's no stutter.
Right. If you listen to me in the way I speak now,
Yeah.
That's how I learned to speak. I've never actually told this to anyone.
Wow. Well, that's my signature.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's really profound. So you learn to speak through watching and practicing singing.
correct.
Wow. So was just like a slowly progression that it just kind of got better and better, or was it like all of a sudden you were good?
It's been so long, I
You don't even
don't
remember.
remember it now, but
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
remember as a child really being so careful about my words
Yeah.
and
Thinking
being
like,
such a big part of my life at that time.
well, do you think that contributes to how thoughtful and how intentional you are now when you speak? Like you're trained to just really take a beat and be really sure of what you want to say, or even just, you know how powerful like the pause is? I talk about this with my husband all the time. Like if we're in an argument and it's because we're so fast and we're just shooting from the hip and we're not actually pausing before we're speaking, and how beneficial it would be if we just like waited 3 seconds before we said what we were saying. And we always talk about this, like we always talk about the pause and how powerful the pause is. And it sounds like you were doing that from a very young age, just having to really pause and think like, how do I want to say this? If it's worth it for me to say, do I want to put myself out there and
Yeah,
take the risk?
I love the pause. I spend a lot of time in the pause,
Mm.
but I'm not an introvert.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably what was so challenging as a child is you weren't an introvert, but you kind of not forced, but circumstances kind of pushed you into that corner.
Yeah.
Did you find ways to be extroverted?
Yes and no. It was really hard. I have this, when you're talking, I had this memory that came back. My
Mm.
7th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to make a Dvar Torah. It was a very big deal. A Farbrengen, a Dvar Torah for my class. I wanted to speak. And at the time, I was very close with this other Chabad family. They're still there. David and Bela Grinker, unbelievable.
Ah,
Uh,
she was the secretary in LGHS, right, Mrs.
so I was
Grinker?
they were like like my family. Like really, I
Yeah,
was very close to them, especially with
yeah.
David. I would because my parents couldn't help me with my homework,
Mm.
so I would often go to their home in the evenings so that he could help me with my Hebrew homework. And so I asked him if he could help me make a Dvar Torah. And we wrote it down, and I remember spending hours. I was
Mm.
7 years old.
Wow.
Hours practicing, making sure that I wouldn't mumble the words and making sure that I wouldn't lose my thought and just going over and over and over. And then I remember delivering that Dvar Torah and how proud I was to.
Wow. To have such perseverance and patience and tenacity to do that at 7 years old. Like, I don't think I could, I could do that now. Wow. I actually am curious. Like, where does stuttering come from? Like, what is the reason behind it?
Honestly, I've never thought about it until this conversation.
Hmm.
It was such a part of my life, and it just, yeah, has not come up.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it comes from. I have no idea why I had it, and I don't even know why I don't have it anymore. Really.
Yeah. Okay. Well, something to think about if
Yeah.
you want to. Okay. So you went through the yeshiva system in Chicago for the most part?
So yeah, so I went through Cheder Lubavitch. I think I was the 5th graduating class. It was a young
Okay.
school
So
at the
pretty
time.
new. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the day they moved into that building on Howard Street.
Mm-hmm.
For those people who like Chicago inside baseball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was an amazing moment, uh, of like kind of going. We were in this kind of small AG Beth Israel, this little school on Devon Avenue, and then we moved to the bigger school. Graduated 8th grade, and then I was part of the first class of the Lubavitch Mesivta.
Wow. I didn't know it was actually that long.
30 years. It's 30
Wow.
years old this year. It was 30 years ago.
Oh, wow. And what was Mesivta like 30 years ago? Is it very similar to what it is now? Listen, I'm the oldest in my family, and we're 8 girls and 1 boy. And my brother is younger. And then I only have 1 son who's not in the yeshiva system yet. So I always love asking about the yeshiva system because, like, I really don't know very much about it. And then my son's having a bar mitzvah soon. And so like, we're starting to have to like figure out where he fits in the yeshiva system. And it's not going to be in the Gen Pop, like it's going to be something alternative. So even then I won't be probably in the typical yeshiva system, but I'm always fascinated by it because I just don't know a lot.
Yeah, I obviously, it's 30 years ago, so it's quite a while. But I could definitely see like those years, the seeds of what later became the incredible institution that exists today. There's no question that they had that plan and that vision, and I really enjoyed my time there.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. In general, I had a very good experience through the Chabad schooling system. I wasn't a very good student.
Like what part of it?
I just, it didn't come naturally to me. I always felt like because I wasn't fully raised in it, that I was always catching up. Yeah. And it wasn't that I wasn't able to do it. It's just that I was always a little behind, and therefore there were things that went over my head, and then the language, there's a lot of translation going on in that yeshiva environment, and that was very hard for me. Though the understanding the material outside of the language was fine.
I really experienced that currently in my life, and also I kind of experienced that as well because I went to like a day school through 8th grade, and it wasn't religious at all. It was like a Jewish day school, like non-denominational. So it's everything but nothing. You know what I mean? It's like we had like 45 minutes of Judaica studies. Like that was our education. And my parents supplemented. And I do believe like when you live the life, like you absorb a lot, but skills are lacking. And so even when I went to high school, and again, material is not the problem, but you always feel like one step behind in like learning the Chumash and translating and the Sichas and the, and I feel like my daughter feels this way now, so bright, and the material's never the issue, but the skills play into it big time. And then you feel like you're always one step behind in the skills. And that it could be challenging.
It was challenging. I ended up leaving, after when I left Masifta at the end of the time there, a lot of my classmates were going together. There was this idea at the time, like kind of going as a group together, and I didn't go with them. And I went to another place, and I felt like I needed to. I had basic fundamentals missing, and so I spent a few years of yeshiva. I went to. At the time, there was a yeshiva in Minnesota. I went to that yeshiva, and then later I actually went to Morristown and spent a year in Tiferes, in Morristown. And it was one of the greatest decisions I ever made. I actually went there.
Yeah.
And I started at the time, I don't know how it is today, but I think it's similar today. They didn't do it by age, obviously, because age didn't matter in that Baal Tshuva environment, but they did it by stage. So I went and started off at the first level.
No way. What made you do that? That's very unique to do that and to want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know anyone else who has done that I've ever heard that's done that.
I think it's incredible and really brave.
At the time, I was definitely the only one. I was like this kid that grew up in the Chabad system amongst all of these. Imagine I'd come from the Masifta in Chicago, and I was in Tiferes.
And the bottom level, not bottom as in whatever, but the starting level.
Stay humble. If you want to stay humble, put yourself in these really difficult environments, and you'll stay humble.
So did you start to see like Yiddishkeit and Judaism and all that stuff from a different perspective when you kind of took a different route?
I think I've always had a different perspective.
Okay, that tracks. You kind of have to, if you're the person to go and do that, you kind of have to see things a little differently to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, growing up where my entire extended family obviously was not religious and very close with them, and a lot of people around me, all of my friends growing up, I didn't grow up in a religious area, so a lot of my friends outside of, like, let's say my Chabad friends that were local, let's say Schneier Scheiman, who was the son of the Shluchim, or I had a few friends, David Orenstein, another Chabad family that was living in the area at the time. But besides, all my other friends were not religious, so my entire world was not religious, though I had a very frum, very Chabad world as well. And I also, saw the world through a lot of those eyes as well. And so vacillated between these two worlds for a long time, and maybe even still today to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very comfortable in a lot of different worlds.
Yeah. I think that growing up, that might feel really difficult, but it is quite a useful skill to have.
I think so.
To be able to be comfortable in many different environments.
Yeah. And so also like my parents' push and that drive to Judaism and to know and to that curiosity to want to know more. I think that's really, I would say, was the driving principle. And then at some point they said, well, there's no way I cannot go through this. I'm missing too many pieces. And the truth is, once I got to Morristown, I realized how much I really was missing.
Fascinating.
I would say maybe, I don't know, because I don't know other people's stories, but if there's somebody out there who can relate to this or their child can relate to this, I would recommend just do a year. I don't know if they would even entertain it anymore. I was definitely a unicorn there. It was so, I'll give you an example of how unicorn it was. I was in the first level in the morning, but in the evening I was teaching a class.
Oh my gosh. What an experience.
Yeah.
Wow. So what type of things were you learning on entry level? Like what does that look like?
I was learning a lot of it was the language, it was the translation. It was a lot of the basics, which
how many of us could use that?
Right. How to learn a piece of Gemara, which here I've been learning Gemara all these years and didn't actually understand the structure. Today, it's so valuable for me because a lot of what I do as a Chabad rabbi is I'm teaching a lot of those basics. And I have a good framework for how to teach those basics as I went through it myself.
Brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I think it's so cool. Did you do that 1 year in Tiferes?
I was there 1 year.
1 year. And then what happened next?
And then I went back then I went for my last year, I was 18. And so my last year of yeshiva, I went to Miami, then went right back into like what they call the regular system.
Okay.
And then from there, I went on shluchas to Sydney. And then after Sydney, we were looking for like to do smicha, but I also wanted to do something that was not just like a regular smicha situation. So I had heard about this yeshiva in Ottawa, which was a half-day yeshiva, half-day trade school.
Again, so cool. My aunt and uncle live in Ottawa, Hayes.
Yes, of course. Know them very well.
Yeah, it's my mother's sister.
I lived there for 3 years, so.
Oh, yeah. How was that? And what was trade school like?
No, that was an amazing experience. So basically, I took a few of my friends that we were on shluchas together, and I said to them, I have this kind of idea that we're going to go to this trade school, and they have the trade school in the afternoon. So we're going to teach in the yeshiva in the morning, and then we'll learn smicha in the afternoon. And that's what we did. We all went together as a group, and we were the teachers in the yeshiva. And
then you learned for your, I guess, smicha would translate as like rabbinic certification.
Rabbinical.
Yeah.
Ordination. So we got our rabbinic ordination. I don't know, should I be translating everything? I don't know the level of the listeners.
Yeah, just not everything, but every once in a while, just explaining what things are is perfect.
I have a rule in general in my classes. I don't use any Hebrew. Because I find that, and I know this from my own self, that the moment you hear a word in another language, you just tune out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
And so I'm very careful, like in my people that follow me, that study with me, they know that you very rarely will find a Hebrew word, even though it's so easy to throw a Hebrew word in.
Yeah.
But I know that if you're going through that and you're learning material that's new and you're processing something new, it's very hard to process something new and to process a new language at the same time.
Well, you probably know that and are extra sensitive to that because of your experience in school. So they're, again, showing up and giving you I want to say a leg up, but I don't know if that's the right word, but really being in tune and empathetic to other people's experiences. I think that's the best way to be good at being an empathetic listener or being a good teacher, is really knowing what it feels like to be on the other side, a little lost, a little confused, not with everybody. So it makes you all the better communicator and teacher because you know what it feels like. Sometimes our challenges as children, right, are things that are so hard for us when we're young. I talk about this with my kids all the time. It's like things are so difficult. And later in life, not to say that we want challenges or we poo-poo them away. But you start to see that later in life, those are the things, which is kind of what we talked about before. Like, what are the things that shaped you? Right? This is why it's so interesting to talk about this stuff, because these are the things that made you who you are. These are the things that the reason why you're good at what you do, or the reason why you excel in a certain area, are so often from experiences as childhood, even subconsciously. Doesn't have to be this big, huge event, but these things that we encounter that guide us to where we are as an adult today.
Yeah, I see that a lot. And I guess speaking with you, it's even clearer to me that my childhood did inform a lot of my life. I decided at 8 years old that I wanted to be a shliach. I wanted to be a Chabad rabbi. And nothing would get in my way. And a lot of, I think if you look at the trajectory and my perseverance was, I'm going to do that.
And at 8 years old, like, what was so appealing to being a Chabad rabbi? Like, why are you so passionate about it? What did you see at 8 years old?
So many things.
Yeah.
Just, I lived and breathed the world of the Chabad house. And then going and visiting the Rebbe. And being in that world and understanding in my 8-year-old self, and then 9 and 10 and 15 and 20-year-old self. And as I grew up, kind of really understanding on so many different levels, what this resurgence of Judaism, and I see even today, in the past 2 years especially, where there is just this awakening and people wanting something deeper, wanting to understand, wanting to experience, not just the absent-minded recitations, not just the things that were wrote. And I think that was part of, like, I was this morning in my class, somebody had brought something up, and I said, I can't answer that. I'm not religious. And they were like, come on, like that's, and I know that's like this kind of like, shocking statement, but I said, well, religion has a very bad rap, but spirituality doesn't.
Yeah.
And depth and healing doesn't. And so why would Judaism predates religion, so that we don't have to have anything to do with religion. So why would we even want to exercise and in that field?
Right. But that's so fascinating, because I think we encounter, and I've talked many times about this on the podcast with different people, and I'm very curious to hear your perspective, that spirituality isn't necessarily godly. So you're saying, okay, Judaism predates religion. We don't have to get stuck in this religious conversation, and spirituality and depth is kind of where it's at and what people are craving. But you could be very spiritual, but devoid of God. So how do you reconcile that, and how do you bring spirituality into, I guess we can call it Judaism, not religion? Is that the distinction you're making?
Words are so powerful.
Right?
Words are so powerful. And the English language, the more I learn it, it's a really difficult language to be expressive in.
Do you know that there's like any other language, there's like 20 words for, I don't know. Like, example, I live in Montana, so I know there's like 20 words for snow in Inuit or whatever language,
right.
And
right.
like in English, we have snow. It's very hard to express yours. Even if you go to Hebrew and Yiddish, there's so many more expressive terms in other languages. And English is very limiting in that respect.
I think you'll appreciate this. I'm very hands-on in the Chabad. Like when people come in, like the experience is very important to me. So we have Sidurim, because we live in Montreal, and there's French and English, and we really live in this international place. So we have a Chabad siddur in just about every language.
Amazing.
And so we have quite a few French Sidurim, as you can imagine, and English as well. And a couple weeks ago, I see this woman like bawling tears during the prayer. And so I was worried, and I just, out of kindness, I walked over and said, is there anything, can I get you a tea or a coffee, or like, are you okay? Can I get you a tissue? And she said, no, everything's fine. I'm just reading the prayer in French, and it's so beautiful and moving. And I thought to myself,
Wow.
said nobody ever
In
reading the
English,
prayer
yeah.
in English.
Truly.
Like, obviously, there's something there that's it elicited a cry, a tear, an emotion. My dream is that we could have a sitter in English that could do that.
Mm.
After I saw that, it just blew my
But is it
mind.
possible? Is it possible in the English language? Who knows?
I don't know.
Well, I have read like novels that are beautiful in English, and it feels like poetry, or it feels like just it's beautiful. So maybe it could be done. Just somebody has to really want to do it.
When I wrote my book, I weighed every word, and the goal of my writing was to elicit an emotion. I don't know if I was successful.
Well, I read the book, and I think you were successful in that. I think there were many times where I was actually surprised at myself. I was like, wow, like I feel emotional, and I didn't expect to. So I do think that you can tell that it was very intentionally written for sure.
Yeah. It took me 17 years to write it. And obviously, it's not the only thing that I was doing.
Of course. But still. No, writing a book is such a thing. I think about it every once in a while that I would love to write a book. And then I talk to people who have written or in the process of writing, and I'm like, I don't know if I could. Like, it's such a big deal. It's such a big deal.
It is a big deal. And I weighed so many, I would sit on some words for hours, for days. And so maybe to answer that question, that maybe it is possible.
So back to the question about spirituality versus religion, I guess I want to just understand. So is the distinction Judaism, not religion? Like, you want to bring spirituality into your Judaism and to your service of Hashem, but we leave out this term religion. What does that even mean?
I think we put the emphasis in the wrong syllable.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. So where should the emphasis be?
I think we have to bring it back to individuality. I'm a human. I don't know about generalizations. And the more generalizations that are happening, it brings us more we become more removed from the reality. What is the goal at the end? I don't know what the goal is. What is the process? The process is to be more present. The process is to find a connection, a relationship between myself and a higher power. There's a lot of different modalities. There's a lot of different ways to do that. Finding that presence. There's also a lot of ways. Even in this conversation, I see myself kind of, getting lost in something that you said and then not being present and then having to bring myself back. I write something in the book about that. Often I would think of something that happened to me in my life, and I talk about a lot of different things that happened to me in my life. Yeah. And I would think about it to the point where I would become emotional over it. Yeah. And I realized that that's what a meditation is.
Yeah. Except, what are you meditating on?
Exactly. What are you meditating? Is it a negative meditation or a positive meditation? Yeah. And so thinking about that shift between a negative meditation and a positive meditation.
That's really profound. And I love that, because I teach Tanya, and Tanya's all about meditation and, right, and creating realities and certain emotions for Hashem that we want to have, right? And it's all about meditation. And I think the flip side of that is it's so important for us to recognize that when we ruminate or we hyperfixate on something that happened in the past, or we're worried about something in the future, that's a meditation. And we always connote meditation as positive, but that's a meditation that can bring us down, or can have us relive very negative experiences like they were happening to us in the present moment. And it's very powerful to realize that we can catch ourselves in a downward spiral meditation, and it's very powerful. And the flip side of that is, well, we can meditate on myriads of positive things, or myriads of connection points, whether to God or to somebody else. So I really, really love that.
And it would take a lot to make that shift, especially since our society, misery loves company. So it's so easy to get drowned into the negative and into the politics and into all the noise. My gosh, there is so much noise in this world.
Truly.
And just having that that just the noticing,
The awareness.
just the awareness. That's it. Nothing else. We already, I think, put ourselves in a different light.
100%. So you're writing this book for 15 years, but during this time, you're doing many other things. Like you're known for a lot of interesting things that you've done, like the Love Rabbi and being on very public platforms. How did you get there? And how did you land in this space of matchmaking and in this area? Like, it's so random.
So random.
It's so random. Like, how did you get there? So, of course, after, I think maybe we backtrack for a second. You were in Australia, you come home. When did you get married?
So I finished smicha and I was teaching in Ottawa.
Right.
And the yeshiva there. And the yeshiva, unfortunately, for various reasons, wasn't able to stay open.
Mm-hmm.
But I had already moved back there teaching married. So we moved back right after we got married.
So how old were you when you got married?
22.
Okay, pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel ready? Or was it just like one of those things that happen? Like trajectory wise, we get married now, like I know it's a funny question, but sometimes it's like, were you ready?
Is anyone ever ready for anything? Especially big things in their life.
Ain't that the truth, right? Like if you wait till you're ready, you probably would never do it.
I think it's a good idea to get married young. I'm a big fan of it.
Okay.
My wife and I always say that we grew up together.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So how long did you live in Ottawa married?
6 months.
Okay. Very short.
Yeah.
And then where'd you go?
And then we were looking into different opportunities, but Ottawa was just not a place to stay. So a friend of mine said, just go to Montreal, stay there for a year.
Mm.
And in the process, you'll find, which kind of place where you fit. And we had been looking into lots of different opportunities at the time. And I think this is really where, and you see all these different things kind of come together. I never wanted to do just the ordinary thing. I don't want to just do what everyone else is doing. That's not interesting for me.
Gosh, wow. I really relate to this. Oh, similar in that way. I'm like, I just don't want to do what everybody else is doing. Like, it doesn't appeal to me.
I cannot imagine myself teaching a class that someone else wrote.
Interesting.
I design and write all of my own.
That's a lot of work.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the creativity. I love the process, as I love writing a screenplay or writing a book or delivering or seeing through that process, like where you can write something and then perform it or deliver it. And so we get to Montreal and I see this very established Jewish community, but with a lot of things that, at least in my opinion, were missing. Mm-hmm. For example, there was this emerging, this is 2005. No, yeah, this is 2005, end of 2004, 2005. And there's this emerging community of young people that were leaving university and not getting married, right? This, what is today called as, young professionals or young adults. I don't know what they call themselves anymore or what people call them. And there's no connection for them within the Jewish community because the organized Jewish community is family oriented and
very much so.
The younger community is more student oriented and like where do they fit, and started doing programming for them. And that's what led to kind of seeing there's a niche for me in this community, and kind of opening up a Chabad house that at the time was catering only and focused. It was only focused to that community.
Oh, interesting.
And it was one of the first. I later found that there were others that we call ourselves the Cowboys that had started at the same time.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people were asking me to match them up. What do I know about matching up?
Yeah. Some people have this natural ability to like see people together. Like I'm the exact opposite. Like I could never be a matchmaker. Like I don't see that. I don't see the connections. So do you have that eye? Like
I'm extremely intuitive and
really,
yeah, definitely see it, and very, very sensitive. I'm a very emotional, very sensitive person. So yeah, I definitely could see it naturally, but also not. And I had to create a system. I had to learn, like anything else. I had to learn a process of how to do that. And I started. People were asking me, "Oh, can you match me up?" And so I never that whole love rabbi thing.
How did that happen? How did you get that name?
I got that name because somebody had heard about my work. Well, what happened was somebody was at a wedding and they were sitting at the table with me, and they said, they were talking, oh, this couple, oh, how did you meet, Rabbi Bernath? Oh, how did you meet, Rabbi Bernath? How did you meet, Rabbi Bernath?
There's a theme here.
Like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? And I never saw it that way. I just was, I had all these young people in my world, and I was matching them up. And that was my world. And there was the biggest French newspaper, La Presse, and they went to them and said, you have to do a story for Valentine's Day on this rabbi who's doing all these matches. It's okay. So they come to me and they write the story, and in French it sounds so much better. Le rabbin de l'amour.
Oh, it sounds beautiful.
Right? Everything
the French
sounds better.
Languages. Everything sounds better in French.
And afterwards there was another, so the English paper had to pick up the story. And so they called me the Love Rabbi, which does not sound, it sounds really cheesy, but I've leaned into it over the years.
Yeah, you gotta listen. You just gotta embrace it.
Which led to these two Oscar-winning filmmakers who approached me and asked me if they can do a film on me. And so they made this film about what I was doing, and it ended up getting nominated for a Canadian Screen Award and went.
What's the film called?
Called Kosher Love. It was, again, all these titles that everyone likes the titles. It's the headlines, the flash.
Yeah.
It's not as exciting for me. And then led to another film and getting involved in other things. So that was like this whole world of matchmaking, starting a whole dating network. I'm definitely a lot of people know me in different ways, and as a human, I see myself as constantly changing. So that persona is so 10 years ago for me.
Okay. That makes sense.
A lot of people don't know me by that.
Right. I feel like your new persona is maybe in the forgiveness space, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But they're each a piece of us.
Yeah. Yes. I have a lot of pieces of me in the world.
I think that's a really important thing to talk about because, like I said before, like when somebody sees you in the present moment and they make all these assumptions or they see you in one dimension, but it's so important to kind of recognize and realize that everybody is a mashup of so many different things. You really can't and shouldn't put people in these boxes of like, you're this and you're that. And it's such a disservice to the human race because we are complex beings and we are many things at once. And we also, like you said, are constantly evolving. So I always like to bring awareness to that when you're either watching somebody online on social media or you're meeting somebody and we put them in these boxes and we judge and we have certain feelings. Like there's so much more behind, than what you're seeing. There's so much more than what you see that makes up a person. And we are complex and we can hold multitudes. And I just like to remind people of that because it's so easy to forget in this day and age when we're constantly seeing content and we're seeing just somebody talking or somebody representing a particular idea or thought. And then that's it. That's who they are.
I like your acknowledgement. I'd like to add to your acknowledgement and say that there are some people who like things very organized and classified.
In boxes.
And they have to make their box and put you into that box because that's how they classify and organize things. I like to hold many truths at the same time.
Yeah, I like to do that too. And I think for the people who like to put other people in boxes are probably putting themselves in a box too, which I find it to be very limiting. I talk to particularly one of my daughters all the time where it's like, you decide, I don't do this and I don't do that and I'm this kind of person and I'm that kind of person and and I'm like, you are limiting yourself to like 4 walls. Like it doesn't have to be that way. Like you can open yourself up. You can try new things. You can not label yourself as I'm this type of person. And I'm hoping like if we learn that at a younger age, it allows us to experience the world and life more and not like Because when you do that, you limit your experiences and you limit your exposure and you limit like so many amazing opportunities. And I find that to be kind of sad. Like, don't do that.
The world is fluid. It's non-binary in the literal sense.
Yeah. Means a whole lot more things nowadays, but
I know it became a trigger, a word that is used in certain contexts. Words, powerful words.
I know, right? Okay, so you get married, you in Montreal, you kind of fall into this love rabbi situation, but really coming from a place of naturally being good at seeing people together and matching people up, and you're servicing that community, that age. So it really kind of jives and makes a lot of sense. Are you still matchmaking, or is there an official capacity where you're matchmaking, or it's more of like, if I see something, I say something?
So yes and no. It's much larger than me now. I spent a couple of years working with Elizabeth Shalom, and we're very, very involved in each other's work, and then I also had created this whole network of matchmaking, started training matchmakers, and so I think today I still have various networks, but doing very little of the matchmaking myself. It's just I'm in a very different space now.
Yeah.
So I still get on a daily basis people contacting me because that's how I became known for it.
Yeah.
And so people still contact me, and I have ways, of making sure that they, at least I can send them to where they need to go.
Right. So fast forward a little, we have this book that's called The Forgiveness Experiment. I feel like this is probably what's taking up a lot of your space now is this topic. Before we actually talk about the book, I want to know what prompted and what motivated and what was the reason for writing this book?
It was never supposed to be a book.
Okay.
It started off as a personal process. I have many different personal processes. I like to write. I like to think. I like to process things. I process things out loud, like right now with you, and also process things on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And
I relate to a lot of that too.
The shocking moment for me was it was at the onset of Facebook, around about 17 years ago. And it was really popular at the time. It was before Yom Kippur. And I wrote a heartfelt message on my Facebook page saying that I'm a rabbi and I don't always know if I've offended someone. I'm in a place of leadership. It's before Yom Kippur. If I have offended you in any way and you're holding on to something, give me the opportunity to ask you for forgiveness. And again, it was thematic. It was before Yom Kippur. It's a time, the Jewish people do that. And I wanted the opportunity. Today, people would see that as like a platitude. Oh, you just put it on your Facebook wall and you didn't really do anything meaningful. But it was a very meaningful post.
So it really came from a true place in your heart that you were feeling that.
And at the time, all of the people that were on, Facebook was different. All the people that were on my Facebook were people I knew.
Right.
People in my community, people who I had, and they were mostly young people.
Yeah.
That day, I received over 50 messages. Some of them were a page long. And it just shocked me. I'll never forget that Yom Kippur. I spent the next couple of days like calling people and asking for forgiveness.
Wait, were the messages like, you hurt me?
Yeah. And it was, you didn't return my call. I messaged you. You didn't return my message.
Oh my gosh.
You said you were going to do something for me and forgot about it.
Wow, that is intense.
It's stuff like that. And I realized very early on in my rabbinate that people hold rabbis to this godlike status.
Oh my God, it's so true.
And I don't know, like at the time, I even remember saying like, maybe this is not for me, but I wanted this so badly since I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
Like I finally, it's arrived. I have it and I love it and I love every bit of it. And I was about to give it up because I don't know if I can do this.
How did that feel? Were you just like, oh my God, like were you crushed?
That was the only Yom Kippur of my life that I didn't run a Yom Kippur service of my adult life. Even as a student, as a yeshiva student, as a bacher, I would go and do, the Yom Kippur services in prisons and in different, I was in Brisbane, Queensland, and, as, join Chabad, see the world. And that particular Yom Kippur was the only Yom Kippur that I had just started the Chabad, but we decided we didn't have a Yom Kippur. Well, because it wasn't a center yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just doing programming and I was working out of another center. It was the only time in my life that I paid for a ticket and went to a shul. And I'll never forget sitting in that shul alone with my thoughts, which is very rare for me to be able to have on, because Yom Kippur is the busiest day of the year for most rabbis. And like, what am I doing?
Wow, that's deeply impactful. So then did you respond to all these messages?
I did. And one by one, I responded to them.
Wow.
And having conversations. And obviously, today I know so much more about relationships, but
yeah,
a little bit under the hood of a relationship is rupture is very good for relationships.
Yeah. We talk about a lot, like with parents and children, like the repair is so powerful. Like, don't waste the opportunity of the repair.
Some of those people I repaired with are friends of mine till this day.
Yeah.
But just that whole process and having to, especially as a young person, not having the insight maybe that I have with a little bit of age and a little bit of experience, having to grapple with, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm. And am I capable? And can I handle this? Yeah.
And do I have the resources and the tools?
You say in your book, which this feels very apropos for right now, is like expectations are resentments waiting to happen, which I 100% stand by and talk about this all the time, mostly with my husband, on like our expectations from our children and our expectations even from our community and from the people that we love. And it just reminded me when you're saying like, but people have expectations of us as community leaders, and that could be really crushing. And so how do you navigate like knowing that people expect certain things from you that are almost impossible because we're human? So how do you move forward knowing that you're going into the situation that people are holding you to a certain expectation that is unrealistic?
Yeah. I have so many thoughts right now.
Take your time.
It's hard.
Say them all.
I'll say them all.
Say them all.
Yeah. We're in the middle of Sfirat Omer, and I think of each of the days having this emotional attunement.
Yeah,
I love emotional, so naturally, this is something that really is really meaningful for me and in my own work. And we have tomorrow night. We're going to start really a focus on Tiferes. And so,
how do you translate Tiferes? Is it like harmony? Is it like there's so many different translations for Tiferes? Like empathy? Is it beauty? Is it like how are you thinking about it?
Every single one of those words in English mean nothing.
Right. Oh, so what do you say?
There is loving kindness that has no end, and then there is at some point, if you want, it has to end. But the problem is, if you vacillate between loving kindness and restraint, then you're just going to go back and forth. You have to have some of this kind of
harmony.
The harmony, or not the harmony of what? Harmony of loving kindness and restraint, the compassion of realizing that you are that, right? That is you. Tiferet is the human.
Mm.
And so I'll give you an example, a practical example that happened today. So my process of education right now, I do what's called a flipped classroom. Have you heard of that terminology? Mm-mm. So all of my adult education in our Chabad now we turned into, for the past couple of years, into a flipped classroom, which means I don't think anybody should be coming out to an event where you have frontal learning and you're just listening to somebody. Like, if you want to listen to someone, enjoy the podcast. Mm-hmm. This is great. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But to go out and to take the time to go out somewhere to listen to somebody doesn't make any sense to me. So anything I was going to tell you is pre-recorded. So before you come to the class, you will have listened to an hour pre-recording. And then when you come, we have a discussion.
That's quite a commitment for people who are joining. Do you find that to be challenging?
I have found it to be getting people out. Like today, there's a challenge. I don't leave for any reason. I'm
Yeah.
very happy sitting right here in my study and
Yeah.
having this conversation with you. Why do I have to go outside?
Right. No, true. You find it to be motivating for people.
Well, if you're going to go out, I want to be an active member. I want to be part of it. It's amazing. So there's a whole process to, I can go into it in finer detail if you want it, but there's a process to this of how you create a structured environment
Okay.
and how you
Yeah.
set the style of the environment for learning. And there's lots of different, there's visuals, there's audio, there's kinesthetic, there's like this kind of multi-sensory experience so people can learn in all the different ways that they learn. And then, so that's me. I'm chesed. You know, I like to give, and I'll spend all the time. I'll prepare that lecture. I'll give the lecture. I'll create and curate that space, and there's people sometimes that come into that space that want to take up the space, because when you create an environment of which there's a place to share, then people will naturally, if you're somebody who needs
Fill
to hear
it.
your own voice,
Yeah.
you're going to fill that space. Someone's going to have to fill that space.
Yeah.
Most people, I would say, understand the nature of the environment. And so it got to a point in one of my classes where certain people were taking up too much space and other people were getting frustrated. So now here I am, kindness, kindness, kindness. And there's all these people who are like, a rabbi, you need restraint.
Yeah. You need to control the room.
Right. And so one of my learning right now through this process of the Omer is, yes, I have to learn how to have a little restraint, how to say no, because every time I say no, then all the yeses were real yeses. And every time I have restraint, but that's not my nature.
Yeah,
My
it's really
nature
hard.
is just to say yes to everything and everyone all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where Tiferes comes in,
Yeah.
where I can learn how to have the boundary, but still be a kind person.
Right. And this brings us back to what I think you're answering the question of, like, how do you take on the role of being a rabbi with the expectations of everybody? And everybody has different expectations from you.
Absolutely.
And want something different from you. But it comes back to yourself, knowing how to be kind and knowing how to say no.
Yeah. So that was a positive version. Let me give you a negative version of this.
Okay.
Got a phone call from somebody in the community a couple of months ago. Rabbi, I need to speak to you. Okay, sure. I try to make myself available. I always know there's emotionally charged. I need to speak to you. It's something serious on their heart.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have to come in person. Sure. This is my next availability. No problem, I'll wait. I've been waiting long enough. Okay. That's all I know about it. Person walks into my office and sits down, very uncomfortable, I could see right away. And shifting and says, I've been waiting 3 years to talk to you about this. I've been rehearsing it. I don't know how to say it. I said, look, you can just tell me as it is. I have no idea what's
coming. Yeah.
So they tell me that they had called me 3 years ago during a difficult time in their life, and they never received a call back.
Biggest nightmare. Okay, yes.
And so my response, I looked at them and said, I'm really sad. Like, I'm sad that you didn't call again.
Yeah.
And that you waited 3 years to come and share this with me. And then they looked at me and said, this is not how I thought it was going to go. I have to leave. And left.
Okay, and then what happened next?
Don't know. That's the end of the story.
That's the end of the story. So you don't know what they were expecting? You don't know what?
I have no idea to this day. I could assume that probably they wanted me to bend over back. I'm so sorry that I did that, and kind of validate that. And I wonder about if that is the correct role in a place of leadership. I cannot, and this is a big learning for me, I cannot decide how you're going to experience something.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot try to control it. As a Chabad rabbi, I used to walk home from an event and I was exhausted because I'm so emotionally attuned. I could see when somebody is disconnected. I could see when they're having a difficult time. So I would be like, is everything okay? Is anything okay? Please. And I would be like just kind of all over the room trying to make sure everyone's experience was just crystallized and perfect. And then it would just drain me completely. And at some point I realized that I cannot do that. I cannot control other people's experiences.
Yeah.
And also, the only thing I have control over is myself. So my response, at least the healthy response, is I am sad about this.
Yeah, I feel like that's quite a beautiful reaction. But it's obviously not what they were expecting.
Well, and we are trained, and I talk about this in the book, that we live in a world of victimhood.
Yeah.
Today, we live in the world of the Olympics of victimhood. What's amazing to me is the Jewish people, we were always got the gold medal. And for the first time in history, maybe ever, I don't know, definitely in recent history, we went from the victim to the perpetrator. And
Yeah.
we're having a hard time with that. But what's amazing to me, and this is the point of it, I didn't want to go, I'm not here to go into any larger political issues, but in order for there to be a victim, there has to be a perpetrator. They work together, the victim and the perpetrator. And like asking myself the question, which is a question through my process, I had to ask myself, is what would my life look like if I wasn't a victim anymore?
Yeah.
Which means this is a person, or I was a person also, so I know this very well, who was waiting for someone to come rescue me. And that person never arrived.
This is at the end of your book, right? Your last chapter, which you added later, which was the drama triangle.
Right.
So I feel like this is really worthwhile because it was like, it's the last part of your book, but like you said, it kind of like crystallizes everything. So you talk about this drama triangle and it's about the victim and the perpetrator and the rescuer. Can you share like, what is that? Because we all are part of some kind of triangle at any given moment. So either we're part of the drama triangle or we flip it and we're in the empowerment triangle, right? And you get to decide where you want to be. So share like, because you're already talking about it. So share what this is, this drama triangle.
I'm so honored that you read the book.
I read the book. First of all, I just want to say the book, I have it right here. It's called The Forgiveness Experiment. And we'll put in the show notes where you can purchase the book. And the book is about forgiveness. And it's really interesting. I was actually really curious in the beginning. When I was reading and I was like, there's a question that I had and I was really, really curious about it. And then you got to it and I was really impressed, but I'll share later what the question was. But let's get back to the drama triangle.
I have spent so much time writing this. And I said to myself, if one person reads it and gets something from it, dayenu, it was all worth it. I will share it with the world. I had this, I will answer the question, don't worry.
Yeah.
I had this moment, the book had just come out, and I was speaking at the Chabad in Scottsdale. And it was the first week the book came out, and somebody walks into, I walk into the room, and I see from the corner of my eye, somebody holding my book. And I actually had never seen a physical copy until that night. So they wanted me to sign it. They didn't know that it was Shabbat and that I would. I was able to meet up with them afterwards and sign it for them afterwards. And I just I started tearing up.
Like somebody's holding my book.
I said, it's a piece of my soul in that person's hand.
Yes. I think that people don't understand if you are a creative and you're putting something out there, that it is like literally, like I feel this way about my podcast. Like it's a piece of my soul. And I know anybody who's written a book feels that way about their book. It's not just a book. It is like a piece of that person. And it needs to be honored and recognized that way. Because I haven't written a book, but I've put pieces of my soul out there and I know what it feels like. But I like, you know how you said, like, if one person reads my book, dayenu, right? And I say that about my podcast too. Like, if just one person listens and I'm like, dayenu, but I'm like, but really not dayenu. Like, it's not enough if one person reads it. I want a lot of people to, so I'm like, how are we eluding us? Like, we have to tell ourselves that, but really deep down, is one person really enough? I don't know.
In a lot of things that I've done in my life, I agree with you that I've always kind of looked at the numbers, and that was very important to me.
Yeah.
I've changed. I'm not the same. Like,
well, yes. You put out this book, really, like you said, it wasn't actually meant to be a book.
Right. It was never meant to be a book. And it's really a sharing of my soul. All of everything in there, the exercises, the things that I did were things I did for myself that worked for me. Mm-hmm. And I had not seen, it was a book that I would have expected to find, but could not find.
Mm.
And that's kind of, you asked like earlier about like all the different things in my life. That's really often that has been the driving motivator for things in my life, is that it's something that I wish existed for me, that I wanted
Right.
and I couldn't find it, or that there's a community of people or somebody who did not, was not able to access that.
Right. Well, actually, back to, there was a question that I asked you, like, what motivated you to write the book? And you told this Facebook story. And I'm assuming that was a big part of the motivation that started this process. It's really interesting because I was under the impression, just from reading the book, that this book would be written because you were holding so much resentment or anger or stuff. But this Facebook story is almost like the opposite.
So that was what the catalyst. But then and it's a really good, I'm happy that you brought this back, because as I started peeling away the layers for myself, I realized that I was holding on to a lot of things, and I write about it. It's deeply
Right. So
personal.
that's kind of what you started to uncover, that, oh, actually you are also holding onto a lot of things.
What I've learned is that if it's something that really triggers you and affects you, whether positive or negative, it's your medicine.
Yeah.
It's meant for you. And
For
so
sure. Oh,
if
yes.
I was shocked, like literally like a deer in headlights over what happened at that moment, I found out later that I was doing that to others too.
Yeah.
And I had been doing that to others in my life.
Mm-hmm. You're like, why are you holding on to this resentment that I didn't return your call for 4 years or whatever? But meanwhile, you start to realize that it's happening inside of you also. Like we all hold on to these like little things.
There's so many things that happen to us every day and we don't notice them.
Yeah.
If you notice it, there's a reason. Either you're actively noticing or you're passively noticing. If you're actively noticing, then you're doing the work and God bless you.
10 steps ahead.
If you're passively noticing, then the work is being done for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, right. So we're either a victim or we are, what's the flip side of a victim?
The Stephen Karpman is the doctor that, and this was introduced to me by an amazing human, Omer Pinto. I had done some coaching with him, and he just he blew my mind. The book was never had a timetable. And so I stopped. Right. The book was already in production, and I stopped it and said, no, I am writing this chapter. It must be in the book.
Yeah.
And I've been doing these, before I finished the book, I had been doing these cohorts called the Forgiveness Labs, and I'm still doing them, where kind of people doing this work together. And that was the biggest mistake that I ever made with this process, was I did it alone. Mm-hmm. And I would say the biggest mistakes I've made in my life is a lot of the personal work that I've done alone.
Yeah.
And I don't recommend it. If there's a way that you could do it together, if you could find like-minded people, if you could find community, it is so important.
I always say, like, support groups, they feel sometimes so cliche, but like they're there for a reason. Like when you find people who are in similar circumstances or struggling with something similar, whether it's infertility or grief or death or illness or addiction, like there's a reason why support groups are there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a beautiful line from the Pirkei Avot, from the Ethics of Our Fathers, that we read this week in chapter 1, to attain for yourself a mentor and to buy yourself a friend. And I think about those two people, how important they are in someone's life, that there needs to be a vertical relationship. A mentor is somebody to whom you will ask advice. In my opinion, the person needs to be someone who's done what you want to do successfully. And so that you'll listen to them even though you don't like the advice, because you know that they are a living example of what you want.
Yeah.
That's what I would say would be the credentials of that vertical relationship. And then the horizontal relationship of somebody who can be your friend and has gone through similar experience and similar life trajectory and can really kind of be that
support.
Yeah.
Okay, so Omer Pinto, he introduced you.
He introduces me to this idea that brought everything together, because what I realized in the process of resentment and grudges and in this forgiveness process that I'd gone through is that I always saw myself as a victim. And that most of the adult world, because of the way our society is and the way we've been educated and trained, most of the adult world sees themselves as victims. Mm-hmm. And so seeing this as kind of a triangle where you have a victim on the bottom, but there's a triangle. There's a perpetrator and a rescuer, which means they all exist in the same field.
Yeah.
The victim and the perpetrator and the rescuer could be the same person. They could be different people. The victim and the perpetrator always need to exist. For a perpetrator to exist, there has to be a victim. For a victim to exist, there has to be a perpetrator. The rescuer is an interesting one because the rescuer could be the person who never shows up.
You're just a dream of a rescuer.
A dream of a rescuer, the hope of someone's going to come and save me. Hello? I think of so many situations I was in, and I was like, does nobody see me here? Does nobody realize what's going on? And how many people walking through the world, like waiting for someone, please, can you come? Do you not notice? Like, how many signs do I have to give you till you realize? Or I see this a lot in marriages and in relationships, especially the closest relationships, parents and children, family,
spouse,
business partners, like these closest relationships where people are like expecting something, assuming something. And it never happened. So that rescuer is an interesting one. And then he kind of asked this question, and he doesn't add. He kind of did the original research. The question was asked by somebody else who wrote an amazing process to his work. His name is David Emerald, and he wrote this book called Ted. And in this book, he kind of asks a question: what would your life look like if you weren't a victim? Like, what is the opposite of being a victim? And the opposite of being a victim is a perpetrator. No, the perpetrator is the same as the victim. What is the opposite of being a victim? And if you have an opportunity, and if you've never asked yourself this question, I sat with this for about 2 weeks. Because when Omer introduced me to it, I didn't want the answer. I wanted to see if I could discover the answer.
Yeah. And you kind of do that in the book too. Like, you make people think about this. Like, I'm not telling you, think about this,
I don't want a spoon feed experience.
Yeah.
I know people are used to like questions, answers, let's spoon feed it, let's just go look online. But I love the angst
process.
And the process is such an important part of this work of going through and trying to figure it out. I could not come up with an answer.
The opposite of a victim.
The opposite of a victim. It shocked me. And I was like taking up so much of my emotional and mental space during that time. Like, what it's true. Like I know so many victims.
Yeah.
And look at our world.
Or perpetrators and victims. Or a rescuer, but the rescuer's not opposite of a victim.
And I've been the rescuer for so many people. Like I wanted, because I'm such a giver, I want to go and help them and save them. And over the years, as a Chabad rabbi and Rebbetzin, I'm sure you know there is no shortage of opportunities to rescue people.
1,000%.
And how this is a really unhealthy dynamic.
Yeah.
And then David Emerald introduces this idea called the Creator. And I love it because it's so Kabbalistic and it's so Hasidic. I call it in the book the co-creator. I don't like the creator. There's only one creator. But we have that invitation to be co-creators in our lives. We can decide. Look at you and I right now. We are deciding where we are and what we're doing at this moment. There's so many other things that we could be doing, but we're here having this conversation. And that we have that invitation and that opportunity to co-create our world and our realities and our narratives.
And it's so amazing because if you think about it, if you are a co-creator, you're not a victim. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It blew my mind.
Like, if you are taking autonomy and you are deciding who you are, what you're doing, how you want to feel, how you want to show up, how you want to act, you're not a victim.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And chances are, if you're not a victim and you're a creator, you're probably, obviously nobody's perfect. And like you mentioned in the book, like this is a continuous process. Like, you're never going to be like, I've forgiven everyone and everything and I've reached it. And I'm, like it's an ongoing process. But chances are, if you identify as a co-creator in your life, you're holding on to a lot less resentments than a victim does.
I consider myself younger.
Yeah.
I was an old man. People who have known me have mentioned that to me, that I'm younger now. I walked through the world as the sage because I was holding on to and I was weighed down with so much life experience and had gone through so many things because I think that a lot of people don't notice. And it's a great way to live. I cannot live that way. And that's, I think, why I had to write this book or I had to go through this process is because I notice everything too much.
Yeah.
The good and the bad. And
you're absorbing it all.
Once you notice, like,
can't unnotice. You can't, I always say you can't unknow something. It's really hard. Like once you know it, you can't unknow it.
I feel the same way on a positive side for this.
For sure.
Because now that you heard this idea of being a co-creator, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. You're going to start seeing victimhood everywhere. You're going to start seeing, come on, really? And you want to go over, you want to be the Gvura, you want to be that restraint. Like, just get over it. Just, here, I want to introduce you to this idea. I just heard this podcast, and there's this idea of victimhood, and you can become a co-creator. You go do it. Stop being miserable. Happy birthday. It doesn't work that way.
No, but the awareness of the thought and the seed of like starting to think about it is the start.
Yeah.
It's not going to transform you right away, but just to think about things through a different perspective. So I want to ask, so do you think that you were holding on to so much because a lot of things happened to you, maybe more than others? Or do you think because you were the kind of a person that was like a sponge, probably an empath in some way, and absorbing everything, that you just felt everything more deeply?
Looking back at it, I think I was walking through the world with no boundaries.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I would walk into a room and I knew how everybody felt.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
And no one teaches you this. So it's,
right.
And I never had kind of created that space between me and someone else. And I'm not saying this it was a reality that I would walk into a room and if somebody was having a bad day, I knew it without them saying it. And different experiences that had happened to me throughout my life, I relived them and kept on bringing them back.
Yeah.
And every time I made a mistake, I would have this reel that would play in my head. And usually it was when I was driving, especially on a long trip, which was often, people are in the car a lot, or it was at 3:00 in the morning when I was trying to go to sleep. Like there would be these reels of every single mistake I ever made.
Oh, the Tanya talks about that, right? And you mentioned it in your book, like major Yetzer Hara moment. Like it's such a thing. Like all of a sudden you start to think about all the things that you've done wrong, like red flag. Oh, that's really.
And it kept on coming back. And I had to find a process to be able to let it go.
Okay. So there's the forgiveness experiment and there's this process and you throughout your book give different exercises and just bring different examples and stories. So that's the forgiveness part and the letting go. And there's that, but then you're still the same person and you still feel very deeply. So how have you learned how to create that space and to have boundaries so you're not constantly exposing yourself to all this all over again?
Learning.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert.
Yeah. Because that's really hard because that's how you were created. So it's a very hard thing to navigate. And you also don't want to get rid of the good side because it comes with a lot of amazing qualities to be that type of person. So you don't want to like get rid of those things.
Yeah. I mean, when people come to me for counsel, I'm able to hyper-focus and I know right away what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. There's been times in my life, even now, that I hide. I'm afraid I have to be careful when I'm seen in the world because.
Especially when you put yourself out there.
Yeah. I put myself out there a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And write a book on forgiveness and you'll find everyone has a story to tell you and something to share and some advice to ask. And it's hard. I'd rather, to a certain extent, at one point I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just be a plumber. I don't have to deal with all this.
If only I had the skills, right? I couldn't even be a plumber if I wanted to.
You have a sink, you have a toilet, it's broken. Okay, like this is so complex and the human being is so complex. And I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that have incredible talents and are scared of them.
100%.
I have spent a lot of my life scared of my of my talent and my ability. You even kind of said it before, like you looked at me like, who is this person? Like they're doing like so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
My personality is one that when I do something, I go all in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not only in everything that I do. If I'm passionate about it, I live on my passion. And if I'm not passionate about it, I will never do it again. It's just you cannot pay me enough to do it if I'm not passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so my passion has changed, and it's been scary because
and it probably will change again as you get older.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as I get older, I think that I will have to. It is so. I'm still. The book was never really a book. It's just this part of my process. Well,
yeah.
I'm still in the middle of my process. My next process.
Yeah.
I have not shared this. This is a
exclusive.
Exclusive. So what happens when you learn to let go?
Yeah.
What happens after that? You have to learn how to let people back in.
Let in.
So I'm doing the attachment experiment now.
Oh, I love that. And as a mother with kids who are adopted, and attachment is what we live and breathe, I'm very fascinated by that. So I will be very looking forward to your attachment experiment. You could ask me you could experiment also. I can help you out.
Maybe that's why you tapped into that, because I've had many conversations since the book came out, but not this conversation.
Yeah,
because I guess you're so hyper focused on that, and that is really it's hard.
That's my life.
I can tell you, I have spent a lot of my life hiding because it's scary to be out there. It's a scary world out there.
It really is. Yeah.
And I can let a piece of myself. I share. I can teach. I'm available. People come and ask me for counsel. I'm a rabbi, but also hiding.
Mm-hmm.
I moved my office a number of years ago to a place where I'm not easily accessible because I realized I was too accessible, and I was literally putting myself out too much, and I didn't know what to do about it. And this is a big learning, and I am not even a novice at this yet. It's just the beginning for me.
Yeah, and that's what's exciting, and that's what makes it so real, and it's a lived experience. I was saying to my Tanya class on Sunday, it's like we never actually reach the pinnacle, because as long as we're alive, it's an evolving process. And so this forgiveness experiment now is leading you to another experiment, which is now going to, you know what I'm saying? Like there's never the end until Mashiach comes or you pass away. That's the end of your story. You know what I mean? So like as long as we're alive, it's a lived experience and it's constantly evolving, which makes it incredible.
We're the walkers. We're living in this world. This world is our playground.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're here to learn and to grow and to make this world better in that process.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to hear my question that I had?
I love
that you ended up answering.
But before that, you mentioned your Tanya class, and I want to tell you that I didn't know anything about you besides for your Tanya class, because a number of years ago we had young adults, young women in our community, and one of the young women came over to me and said, "I'm listening to this Tanya class, and it's the best. It's unbelievable." And she said she's stopping it. We need to support her, and so.
Oh yeah, and then oh my gosh, I remember this, and that you donated to my Tanya class,
and we sent you a donation because I was so these young women who are so inspired. I'm like, yes, please, like we need to make this happen.
God, we need to. Small world. That's incredible. Well, thank you, and it was. I loved it so much. It had so much of my heart. And then again, like it happens, right? Then I started the podcast, and I was like, I can't do it all. I still do my Tanya class for my community. Like we have our Sunday, like my community, but I did stop the big.
Those recordings, just so you know, still go around.
Yeah, the recordings are still there. Oh, really? That's amazing. Well, thank you. That means a lot to hear. Okay, so the question I had, which I'm actually so shocked that you got there because it was towards the end of the book. So my question was, okay, so we're talking about forgiveness. We're talking about somebody has done something to you, whether they know about it or not. You're holding feelings around it. You're holding resentment. You're holding anger. There's somebody to blame. And either you have an interaction with that person and you work it out and you let go of that hurt, or you decide to not even engaging in that person, but letting go of it on your own, or the other way around, you hurt somebody and it's the opposite experience. My question was, there's so much hurt and resentment that people experience that there's no one to blame. It's kind of like a God problem. And like I can tell you in my life, I have so many circumstances in my life that have caused pain and have caused even suffering. I try not to go down the suffering route, but that you talk about the difference between pain and suffering, but have caused resentment, that have caused anger. And there's no one to blame. Like I can't work it out. I can't resolve the issue because it's not with another human. It's kind of with God. And I was like, it made me feel like it's almost so much, I don't want to quantify, but to bring out my point, I'm going to say it could feel so much easier to have resentment against a human because either number one, there's someone to blame. So even if you're not ready to let go of the resentment, there's someone to blame, or you have someone to work it out with, like you could resolve this if you choose to. So what happens when the hurt and the pain and the resentment you're feeling is kind of just there and it's a God problem or it's between you and God. And then you actually devoted a whole chapter to that. And I was like, oh, this speaks to me so much because, yeah, I can relate to all the other things, but in my life, this is so much more prevalent. And I was like really so grateful that you took the time to address that, right? And you say in your book, you mention a story that in one of the camps, there was like graffitied on the wall, right? If there was a God, he must ask me for forgiveness. And that's super powerful. And then you talk about this relationship with Hashem and like, sometimes we feel like Hashem has wronged us. And kind of, it's a very similar process, I guess, of like letting go and trusting and the acceptance. And at the same time, like feeling those feelings and there's a lot of hurt and pain. And there was people coming from the Holocaust that were able to let go and there's people who weren't. And there is obviously no judgment around that. But that was my question. And I was very pleasantly surprised that you addressed that because I think a lot of people experience feeling being wronged by Hashem and like it's not fair or things happen that are really painful. And what do you do with that?
I'm just honored. I'm just being here in this space and I'm honored to just be listening to this. Yeah. There is no more difficult chapter that I wrote. There's no more difficult thing that I ever wrote in my life than that chapter.
I can imagine. It's hard to tackle.
That did not go in until the end.
Yeah.
It was not, I kept on taking it out and saying no. And then the editor said yes. And I said no. And I said to my wife, I said, what do we do? And she said, you put it in.
What was the struggle? Did it feel like you could answer these questions or like almost like the question of like, why do good people suffer? Like it's in a similar category, right?
I answer that question too.
Yeah, exactly. You answer it by not answering it because you don't answer that question. There's no answer to that question.
That's the best answer. Silence is the best answer.
You can't answer it.
I made a decision that if I'm going to put that in, that I'm not putting rabbi on the front of the book.
No, looking at the book, I'm like, true.
Because initially it was a book written by a rabbi, but it really was never a book written by a rabbi. It was a book written by a human. Mm-hmm. People know me as rabbi. Mm-hmm. It's the name that's most used to refer to me. And this is a deeply human argument.
Experience, yeah.
An experience. And it's something that, especially being raised in a setting of which God is a primary component, if you're a victim, it's the easiest persecutor. Mm-hmm. The easiest.
1,000%.
And I think the result of that landed on that chapter that we spoke about before. Mm-hmm. Because if you're going to stop blaming God, then who are you going to blame? You really have no one to blame. You're really in a conundrum because when all else fails, just blame God.
Yeah, truly.
And if you can't even have the joy and the comfort, the fleece blanket of the God that you blame, that is, so many people especially in the Jewish community, and rightfully so in that context, will have nothing to do with Judaism, will not go to shul, will not engage in Jewish life because they are upset at God. It's like, I am going to stick it at you, God, because of, and in that framework. But if you take yourself out of the victim framework, then what are you going to do now?
Right. That's the thing. Like, then what?
Then what? It's this deep void. It's amazing how blaming God, I didn't write this, but processing it with you now, blaming God actually was so comforting and so reassuring. Like, that is, I could understand people who have that relationship. Like, that's their spiritual and religious relationship.
Experience,
it's because it's such a great fleece blanket.
Like you mentioned, the people who struggle the most, oftentimes, obviously there's always exceptions to the rule, but oftentimes the people that were angry at God the most or experienced the most resentment was the people who had a relationship with God to begin with.
Right.
Because it was such a betrayal and such a, this is my God. Like, how could you?
Yeah.
If you didn't have a relationship to begin with, there's a lot less anger around.
There's no zero-sum game here. And I know a lot of people I grew up with, people who were raised in the Jewish community who left because it was an all or nothing. And I think about it so much as a parent, as a rabbi, how there's this conditional love, and that love is really unconditional. And that the God that somehow creeped into my life was a conditional God and not an unconditional God.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. I actually didn't expect to have so much to think about after I read your book. Like, especially like in the beginning, I was like, okay, yeah, I know. Like, I'm familiar with this process. But the more I read, the more I was like, like there's a lot to really think about. And it may not sound like super revolutionary or super like you're hearing something for the first time, because really no one ever hears anything, like everything's just couched in different ways. But I really did find myself very impacted. So it was really well done. I think I want to end with, I want to read something from the book. That's okay.
Honored.
It's something that I speak about a lot and wrestle with a lot in my own life, and it's just very prevalent. And then when you wrote about it in your book, I was like, it really resonated. I was like, oh, it just, yes. So it's actually, I think it might even be a quote from the Baal Shem Tov, but it's on page 95, and I'm just going to read it from the book because I found it to be really, really good. Okay, so you write in the book that the Baal Shem Tov taught that pain happens when our body and souls aren't aligned. And pause. This is something that I'm so passionate about because I think this is almost the core to everything: physical health, emotional health, how you show up in the world, everything. Like, if something is feeling off, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it's because your soul and your body are not aligned, or you are not tapping into, like we talked about before, your gifts and your talents. You're suppressing. If you're suppressing, you're not aligned. If you're not aligned, you feel pain, whether it's physical or emotional. And so you say in the book, the Baal Shem Tov explains that when we accept pain with love and faith, we actually bring our body and soul into alignment. And when that happens, the suffering begins to lose its grip on us. But when we resist pain with anger and resentment, we make it worse. It's like rubbing salt in a wound, prolonging and intensifying the hurt far beyond the moment it began. And I just find that to be so foundational. And what's being said here is actually kind of twofold. It's like, okay, you have to accept the pain with love and faith, which is a really hard thing to do. And like you say, this doesn't happen right away. It's like first starts as a thought to think about. But what's also being said here is that you're feeling the pain. It's not saying you don't feel pain. It's not saying the pain doesn't exist. It's saying that you are feeling the pain and you're accepting it, as opposed to resisting the pain. When you resist pain, when you try not to feel it, never mind the anger part, just resisting pain and pretending that it's not there is what ends up causing the suffering.
Yeah.
And I just think it's it's a little part of your book, and it maybe is not even the main theme, but it really spoke to me because I think if you really think about this in layers and peel away the layers, it really is the core. To me, it's the kind of like the core of it all. So that's what I wanted to share.
Do I have permission from you to add a piece that I took out?
Yes, please.
Maybe triggering, and that's why I took it out.
Okay, we can handle it.
It's amazing that quote and that part of the process. I added something. It's my own, and I'll tell you how I got to this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that pain is a portal.
Mm-hmm.
I remember people, like say women that are in labor, they'll collect names of people to pray for because when they're on that level of pain, they become a portal for blessing.
Mm.
And so I've never seen this anywhere, but it just makes sense to me that when we're in that pain, and whether it's physical or emotional or spiritual, we become a portal.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Rightfully so, because we're not supposed to like ask for pain, and we don't want it, and we all of that stuff. Okay, you guys know that. And we're so scared of pain. We try to avoid it, and we'll do anything to protect ourselves from pain. I have this conversation, I'm telling you a lot of conversations I have with my husband, but we talk a lot about all of these things. And sometimes we put up walls and boundaries around ourselves because we don't want to get hurt, right? So we protect ourselves. We don't want to get hurt. And in truth, it's so counterproductive because, first of all, you can't just protect yourself. When you protect yourself from pain, you protect yourself from joy. Like you can't really pick and choose. But I feel like if we were less scared of pain, it would hold us less. Like kind of we're trapped in this fear of the pain. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
This has been an incredible learning in my life. I spent a lot of my time, and I say still a lot of time, living from fear. And allowing fear to control my responses, allowing fear to decide how I interact with the world and navigate the world. And to shift that, to think about, like, if I didn't live out of fear, what would I live from? How would I? And to ask that question.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you're bringing this up, that you focused on this part. I mean, it's a large book.
Yeah. And I highlighted that paragraph. Like, that's what I felt.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot here. I hope everybody feels inspired, even just by this conversation, and maybe even more inspired to pick up the book and to read it. I always say, just float ideas. Start to broaden the way that you approach things, what you think things, your narrative. Start there.
I like that. Just noticing, right? Just notice. Is this the way I want to respond? Is this the way that I want to deal with this? And something I started doing recently as part of this, this is just a little exercise that I've been doing. And I did this, I just had Pesach, and Pesach, I have a number of older kids that live away, and they came home for Pesach.
Yeah.
And obviously when families get together, that's when a lot of the triggering happens.
The drama.
And I started doing this a lot more, and I want to do this a lot more. And I say something like, I really don't like the way I did that. I want to try again. Can I try again? I don't like the way I responded. I don't like the way I showed up in that moment. Can I try again?
You know, it's so crazy. My 8-year-old daughter, who's a firecracker, and anyone who knows her, she has a name for herself. But she started all on her own. I don't know where she got this language, maybe from the little groups she does in school or whatever. But she will lose it, and she'll have kind of like a blowout and screaming, throwing, whatever, all the things. And then it passes. And then it happened a bunch of times in the last few weeks. She'll come to me and she'll say, "Can I have a do-over?" 8 years old.
Brilliant.
Can I have a do-over? And you know what's so fascinating is I find myself, you just stay calm in the moment, but it really throws you off when these things happen with your kids. And it takes a lot of work to outwardly not lose it, but inside you're really not okay. So when she comes to me and asks me, can I have a do-over? Like there's a part of me that's like, no, you can't. I am not available for a do-over. But of course, that's not how, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to control that part. And of course I turn around and I'm like, deep breath. I'm like, yes, you can have a do-over. And I was floored the first time she did that. I was like most adults can't do that. Can I have a do-over? Like, it's pretty incredible.
Mind blown. Wow.
Yeah. Trust me, it blew my mind too. I'm like, okay, all hope is not lost. Okay, so we do have to wrap up, but the one last thing that I want to bring attention to is you also have this little, like you have exercise in this book and experiments, which I think is very, very cool. But one of the kind of exercises you take us through is like this soul conversation. And I really, I think that was my favorite of all the exercises because it kind of goes back to what we were saying is like, you need to ask your soul, what is it that you want? What are you supposed to be doing? Like check in. I feel like we just go through life in the daily grind and we're raising a family or whatever we're in our work, we're in our job. And like every once in a while, have a conversation with your soul. I feel like that's so powerful. And we won't go into all the details here, but if you're interested in that, there is an exercise in the book that kind of takes you through that process. And I really like that.
Did you go through the process?
In the moment, I didn't. I was on a plane and I was reading, but it stuck with me and I'm thinking about it and I'm going to. And I find myself that because the life that I lead, it has forced me to be really self-aware. And so I do similar things like that, but not in an organized fashion in like taking it step by step. So I am excited to try.
I'd love to see how that lands for you because I could see based on this conversation that, you know, and trying it a few times. And that's the beautiful part about all these exercises is they're experiments. So you can keep on trying.
Right. It might not land the first time.
They usually don't land the first time.
Correct. It's like, you know, when you listen to new music and it sounds terrible the first time, you're like, what is this? And then you like listen to it again and again. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is good. Oh, okay. I like this. But something new, something uncharted territory oftentimes feels very off-putting.
I think in a world that we only have a second of attention, it's going to get harder and harder. It is harder and harder, why I love conversations like this.
I'm fighting it tooth and nail. I'm like, you guys, you can do this. You can listen to something that's more than, never mind 30 seconds, it's more than 30 minutes. Like, you might have to press pause. You might have to come back, but I promise you, we could do this.
2.7 seconds. When you're doing a documentary, you have to change the image.
Okay, that's crazy. Wow.
I think it's even less than that when you're doing reels. I think, I don't know what
For sure. So fast when I post reels, and if it's longer than 2 minutes, Instagram will literally come up and say, if your reel is longer than 2 minutes, you know, you will have limited exposure. Like, we're not even going to show it to people because it's longer than 2 minutes. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. Whoever's meant to see it's going to see it. I'm fighting back.
And then no one sees it.
Correct. I'm like, who am I fooling? Like, I always have these like indignant, like, hills I'm going to die on. And who's the one that's suffering? Me. But it's okay. I got it.
I win.
Yes.
Team of one.
Yes. At least in my head, I'm winning. Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation. And like I said before, all the information will be in the show notes if you want to get your hands on this book. I think you'll really enjoy it and it will give you food for thought.
I am so honored. I'm so honored, first, that you read the book.
I take it very seriously, my job.
So many incredible points and questions and like just wow. And that this conversation was just so meaningful and uplifting and very nourishing. So thank you.
Well, very good. Well, thank you so much. And you will be back for your attachment experiment. I can't wait for that. I'm all in.
I don't know if it'll be a book, but I'll definitely have a conversation with you about it.
Okay. Yeah. Keep me posted.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Hi, guys. So this episode really stayed with me for a long time. And one of the things that I have been thinking about and reflect upon is the conversation we had around the reasoning for Rabbi Bernath wrote his book. And to be so vulnerable, but not lip service vulnerable, but really vulnerable, like put your money where your mouth is vulnerable, to share why you wrote a book about forgiveness and to take ownership of the different events that happened in your life that propelled you to share and to be open about this concept of forgiveness. But it's so much more than that. I wanted to reflect on that little piece because it really touched me and actually invited me to reflect on certain experiences or narratives that I have that I tell myself, and to like open those up for reflection. And I think that's really special. So I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. And without further ado, we are going to jump right into the prompt of the week, which was all about fitness. This prompt was inspired by last week's episode with Paula talking about our health and our bodies and listening to our bodies. And we talked and all sorts of things. This last episode wasn't about fitness directly, but it felt like a nice segue into this topic. And I had a lot of fun because I've never really shared my fitness experiences. Like I don't really talk much about what I do to exercise online. You always know I'm coming to the gym or going from the gym. I'm on the treadmill, like that part I share, but not more than that. And how far, like how many years that I've actually have been moving my body intuitively, and working with Paula has helped me understand why I'm drawn to moving my body and also the importance of moving my body. So I was really interested to hear from you and your fitness experiences. I know it can be really loaded. Fitness is a tricky subject, but it's fun to talk about. So here's the first voice note.
Hi, Chavie. It's Jane Marcus. Here's my response to your fitness question. From a very young age, I was always dealing with body image, and I began power walking very young for weight control. And then in my first year of marriage, at the age of 20, my mother of blessed memory, who was at that time a very vibrant and active woman, became a paraplegic. And from then on, I focused on the blessings of being physically able to move. I also came to the realization that daily physical exercise is necessary, as is daily chitas. It is not optional. I'm now at the age of 75 and sadly have friends with various disabilities. I am reminded of my mom, who would have given anything to have full use of her body. I thank Hashem every day for the blessings of strength and mind and limbs that work.
Okay, I have so much to say about this voice note. Wow, like so much is packed into that minute. So first of all, I can't even imagine what it would feel like to have your mother become a paraplegic and what that makes you confront. And the way that Jane talks about, like, okay, so I struggled with body image and that has been my story. But when you see somebody lose the use of their body, talk about perspective, how that can really change everything and help us feel grateful for the body that we have. Maybe it doesn't look exactly the way you want it to look, and you don't feel exactly the way you want to feel, but that narrative shift, that perspective shift of being grateful for what your body does do for you is so powerful. And I have to say that in my personal life, I had to really intentionally think about that because I went through a long period of time where I really struggled with my health and my digestive system and my gut. And I really wasn't well and I wasn't able to eat properly. And I really struggled. And I also, because of that, started to not trust my body to do what it needed to do. Like every time I would eat, I would be scared. Well, am I going to be able to digest it? How am I going to feel? Am I going to be doubled over in pain? And that fear with your body creates this tension. And then you're in this vicious cycle. So a big part of my healing was to change the narrative around my body. And I think I talked about this on the Moshe Weinbaum episode because he's the one that really helped me in this journey. Is what I had to do was really every time I ate, I would talk to my body and I would say, thank you so much for all that you do for me. Thank you for, I know that you can handle the food that I'm going to put in my body. Thank you for being strong enough to carry me throughout my day. We put a lot on our bodies. And every once in a while, we have to appreciate and thank our body for what we put it through. I know that was a little bit of a tangent, but this message really spoke to me because we do have to be grateful for our bodies. And if your body isn't doing exactly what you want it to do, it doesn't mean you can't change it, but come at it from a place of love and gratitude and acceptance versus hating on your body, because that in itself causes so much damage. And I think she said she's 75 years old. She's active. She's moving every day. It's so important. Like I said in my Substack essay, it's it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what exercise you do. Just move your body. Move your body. If you're looking for a specific goal, okay, there's specific exercises that will get you to specific goals and they do specific things. But I think sometimes we get so caught up in, do I exercise like this? Cardio, not cardio, strength, not strength. And then we end up doing nothing because it's so overwhelming, or we get so stuck on what we're doing. And then we forget to just actually move your body. Go for a walk, get on the treadmill, do a dance class, swim, whatever you want to do. Just remember that moving your body is so important. Here's the next one.
I wanted to message you about the whole working out. First, I just want to let you know how much I learned from you so much from following you. Regarding exercise, I'm in my late 40s, and I have to tell you, as someone who was overweight or slightly overweight my entire life, as a child, exercise was really always pushed on me solely, and then in my 20s, solely based on weight loss. And for myself, exercise alone or exercise in general never allowed me to do weight loss. I think I was in my mid-30s when a friend of mine gave me a month-long pass to Jazzercize, which is dancing. And I have to tell you, that experience totally reframed my relationship with exercise. For the first time, exercise was not built as weight loss alone. It was built on so many other things. It was primarily based on mental health, which Hashem obviously puts the answer before the question, but this was 3 years before COVID, and having that integrated part of my life was essential for when COVID hit. But it completely changed my mental health. I had been someone who'd always gone to therapists, but movement was something so essential, and doing it on a daily basis has changed how I feel mentally. Secondarily, as women, especially as we age, strength training was something that no one talked to me about. It was only cardio, and strength training has been essential. It's essential as I age with my bones. I have a mother who fell, and her life has totally changed because of that fall. Now she's in a walker, in a wheelchair. Core health as you age is so essential. I mean, so many other, I can just go on and on and on. Everything, community. I was always someone who exercised. If I did exercise, I exercised in my basement alone, or I would go to a gym and stick on headphones and not talk to anybody and just do the treadmill. But the community in exercising with classes is amazing. I'm a Frum woman, but I happen to, even though there's a Frum exercise place where I actually prefer exercising outside of the community. I'm able to connect with so many Jewish women who are not religious yet, and non-Jewish people. I mean, it's amazing. When I was post-surgery, I had a surgery last year, and there were women who were literally doing shopping for me. I would give them a list of Bachurim, and they would do my grocery shopping for me. It's like nothing else. Anyway, I'm going on and on and on. Anyway, thank you for having this conversation. Thank you for being you. Thank you for sharing your life and your family with us. I've gained so much from you. Thanks so much.
Okay, what a beautiful message. I think there's so much here to unpack. First of all, the messaging around exercising is important. So I think we've come a long way of how it used to be. Like she mentioned, I think it used to be very much about the size of your body, and it could be feeling very pressure. Hopefully we've come a long way around that. But I think there's so much, we have so much information now. There's so much out there. We're understanding more and more like how important exercise is for our bones, right? Like the strength training for when we get older, and we understand that for our mental health, how important exercise is. I think now that's basic knowledge. Like exercise is so important for your mental health. Every therapist, every psychiatrist, every person in the healing space or industry will tell you that you need to move your body. So I hope that's being integrated more and more and more, and people are understanding that. I think we live in a world I think it's always been this way, where people struggle with what their body looks like. And I think that it's okay. This is my opinion. I think it's okay to want to change your body. I think it's okay to want to change your body. It's how you do it and what you tell yourself while you do it. It's so important. And I think I mentioned that with the last voice note. It's like, are you changing do you hate on your body and look in the mirror and focus on all the things that you hate about your body? Then you're in fight or flight, and your body isn't going to work with you. But if you come at it from this perspective of like, thank you, Hashem, for this beautiful body that you gave me. Thank you for this body that enables me to do my job, be a parent, be a mother. And I want to take care of my body. I want to be 10 pounds less, or maybe some people need to like put on muscle or put on weight to be healthy. And coming at it from a place of love and not as out of a place of fear can change everything. And I've had to spend a lot of time working on that. And also accepting, like what we talked about in Paula's episode, like accepting your body type and how your body works instead of working against it, working with it. So I think we have a lot of opportunity to send good messaging to the next generation. I think we have a lot of exercising can be so empowering. And yeah, I just hope people can approach it with that perspective. Yeah, we're so fortunate that we have so many opportunities to move our bodies in fun and interesting ways, and that keeps it exciting. Okay, next voice note.
Hey, Chavie. So I think this is such a great topic for a conversation on fitness. So for me, I think there's a couple of kind of key points to this. One is that it needs to be accessible, it needs to be doable, and that you could fall off the wagon and get back on easily. So I have a couple of things I do. One is I need to get out and go for a walk every single day. Like I need to be outside and get air and get some sunshine. My goal used to be 10,000 steps a day. That was not attainable. And then it felt like I kind of missed the mark. So instead now I'm like somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000. I'm good. And sometimes it's more, which is great. But like I know that I can always get to 6,000 steps. So that's number one. Number two, for workout, my goal is to do 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, like Monday through Friday. Again, that does not always happen. So there's a couple of things I do. So I have a subscription to something called Walk at Home, which is like the easiest walking exercise thing you could do. And you could decide how, they have 15-minute sessions, they have 30, they have 45, they have an hour. You just do it at home. All you need are like your workout shoes, and it's very easy. The voice is a little annoying, so I tend to just like mute it and I listen to music or I listen to a podcast or something else. So I do that. I also have a gym membership, and what I found is that again, it needs to be very easy and accessible. So I live in an urban center, and I know for myself that if I need to get in the car and deal with parking, the chance that I'm going to make it to the gym is not great. So I've selected to go to a gym that is close by and that I could walk to. So again, I think it's like really setting yourself up for things that you know you can do. And then what tends to happen is like I travel, life gets busy, I fall off the wagon. It happens with some frequency. And just knowing that like I can get back on the routine pretty easily, because again, like this walk at home thing, like you could just do 15 minutes if that's what you need to get back into routine, or like do a 30-minute, get out for a walk, like make it back to the gym. But I think just like recognizing and honoring that, at least for me, like I'm falling off my routine pretty frequently, not for very long times, but like getting back is okay. And just it's almost part of the routine to fall off the routine, and then you need to get back. Okay, so a practical thing that I do is that when I get dressed in the morning, I put on my workout clothes. So if I'm in my workout clothes, like I need to work out before I'm taking a shower. So it's like kind of this like idea of stacking where like I'm going to do this after I do that. So like before I shower, I'm going to work out. So that's a really great way for me to do it and to actually make it happen. I also just want to say that like I really feel and sense that like when my workout routine is good and solid, I feel it in my sleep. I feel it in my mood. I feel it in like what I'm craving, what I want to eat. I'm just, it's so much more than physical health. It's also you're taking care of your mental health.
Okay. Love this voice note. There's so many, like, it's so relatable. I love that she talks about falling off the wagon, because I think we need to talk about that. It's such an obstacle when we're getting to routine and then life happens and we fall off, and then it's so hard to get back into it. I think that's one of the biggest struggles, and I used to struggle with that a lot. But what I've noticed is when something is doable, first of all, when you love it, and when something's doable and it's not too overwhelming, then when you go on a trip or life gets busy, like when it was during my son's bar mitzvah, like I wasn't getting on the treadmill every day like I usually did. And it was fine. Like there are times when it's okay to not work out. I also think that's important. Like sometimes we're so rigid and it's at all costs. Like to me, working out is not at all costs. If there's something going on in my life that needs all my attention, it's okay. Like be soft around it. And I think the way to be soft around it is to know that you can get back on the wagon. Like you can do it. So after my son's bar mitzvah, like it wasn't a big deal. So it was over and I got back into my routine and I just went back to it. I didn't put so much mental energy around it. It's like, okay, back here I go. And I think that is something that took me a long time to figure out. And I think part of the reason I'm able to do that is because what I'm doing is doable and it's sustainable and it's accessible. So I think that's a really, really good point. And if anyone wants, I'll put the subscription that Aylin talked about in the show notes if you want to check it out. I know there's so many different subscriptions out there. There's so many different ways to work out, but if it's something that you relate to or feels like it can make it easier for you, why not? So is there any? Yes. The other thing I wanted to discuss is this 10,000 steps concept. I don't know where it came from and why all of a sudden we decided 10,000 steps is like the ideal amount of steps to walk. I think everybody's different. I think everybody's body's different. To me, walking 10,000 steps is really not attainable. I think it's around 5 miles. I don't walk 5 miles a day. So I've kind of let go of the step thing. I used to have, during COVID, I used to have an Oura ring, and it was really actually helpful during COVID because we were so cooped up that I would like make sure to go out on walks. But I haven't worn it in years, and I really let go of any tracking device. I feel like we know too much metrics. I don't need to know every single thing that's going on in my body. Also, they're not always so accurate. And it was getting in my head. So I don't have a smartwatch. I don't have an Oura ring. I don't have any of that stuff. So I don't track my steps, but I just know that I'm not getting 10,000 steps a day at all. And it's hard. One of my goals is to try to like just be more in my day, just not, I guess the point is not to only have a workout, but to just also just be more active throughout your day. And that's what I'm looking to try to add and do better at. But I don't know. Everyone just talks about like getting 10,000 steps a day like it's no big deal. And I don't know how people do it, honestly. Okay, last voice note for today.
So at 41 and a half years old, I can tell you that my workout routine is no longer the same as it was even 5, 6, 7 years ago. I've always been into Pilates reformer, 17 plus years. That I've always had like on the wayside, but I used to love like all the high intensity and the TRX and the jumping and all these like crazy HIIT, CrossFit, whatever. And I wasn't losing weight from it. Like I feel like my body was like attacking itself because it was so stressed out. And now that I'm like more in tune with my body and realizing like what I need, I realize that slow, intentional, form, focused exercise is so much better for me, and walking. 100%, doesn't matter what I do. I could do Pilates 17 times a day. But if I don't get my tuchus on that treadmill or on a walk or hiking or something with a little bit of incline to like get my blood going and just moving constantly, because I'm like you, I need to always be moving or my brain is just attacking itself with anxiety and whatever. So definitely the walking and training and like being more focused on my muscle.
Okay, I love this message, and it brings me to a point that I wanted to discuss. So I'm so happy that she brought it up. So as women, we have to be in tune with our bodies. We have to know what works and what doesn't. But in general, if we work our bodies to the ground, it will backfire. We will be full of inflammation. We will get stuck. We will not feel good. And all the things that we're hoping to accomplish with our exercise the opposite will happen. So I think we're learning more and more about that. These very, very, very high intensity workouts used to be all the rage, and we've moved a little bit away towards that. But again, everything's a balance. Like people are so into strength training that we've kind of put cardio by the side, but cardio has its place and is very important too. But I think it's all about knowing where the line is from over exercising to moving your body in a healthy way. It's so easy to like cross over to over exercising and to like pushing our body to the point of inflammation, and understanding that sometimes less is more, but you got to move your body every single day. Move your body in some way or another every single day, whether that's walking. Walking is so underrated. I think now we're understanding how powerful walking is, but like just walk. So two things are true. You have to move your body every single day, or you should, or it should be a goal. And it could be 10 minutes a day. We're not talking about an hour a day. Start with 10 minutes a day. And we have to understand that there is such a thing as over-exercising. There's such a thing as taxing our body. And then all the things we're trying to avoid are just getting exacerbated. So I think that that's something to really be aware of. And is there anything else I wanted to say? Yes, I personally, like I wrote in my essay, I love having a trainer. I love this being held accountable. I love being pushed out of my comfort zone to the things I know I would not do on my own. I love the camaraderie of working with my group. So Paula is somebody that I work out with every single week with another woman. And I love it that it's our gang and we work out together. I love what someone said in the voice note about going to a class and creating community around exercising. You don't have to do it that way. If you prefer to exercise solo, that is definitely sometimes what I do too. Oh my gosh, you mentioned Jazzercize. Jazzercize was one of the first entries into exercising, and it's hilarious. I'm not coordinated and I don't know how to dance, so it was quite a fun experience, but that was the only thing I had accessible to me at that time where I was living and what stage of life I was in. I was a dorm counselor in Morristown, New Jersey, and I would go to Jazzercize because that's what I could find. And that just brought up nostalgia. Anyway, I hope that you enjoy this conversation. You start to think about fitness and how it can play a role in your life. So grateful and appreciative to everyone who sent voice notes. I got a lot of engagement with this prompt, but a lot of people are still uncomfortable with sending voice notes. So I get a lot of like texts and messages. I love those too. And start getting comfortable with sending me voice notes. It's really fun. It's not that scary. And it adds so much to the podcast. So thank you for being here. See you soon. Okay, so this podcast does not happen by itself. The magic takes a whole group of amazing people, and I want to tell you who those people are. So obviously I'm your host, Chavie. Our producer and creative director is Eli Ben-Chion. He keeps me on my toes. He makes sure that I just keep growing and am on point and don't miss a beat. He's the best. Audio is edited and mixed by Reed Seeley. Also, unbelievable. He's so cool, calm, and collected. You kind of need that working with me. And the music, which is beautiful, is by Basia Schechter and Shaul Magid. And this is totally unexpected.